Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 1111 Matrix Code Revealed. As always, I'm your host, Garrett King. In tonight's video, I am going to show you some amazing mathematical anomalies in the Torah. It's mind-blowing. I really don't know what other words to use. These mathematical anomalies are beyond extraordinary. I think it shows the absolute pure divinity of this book. I believe personally that there is absolutely no way that a human being, at least a human being as we understand it now, I just don't think a human being could have constructed this on their own. Because I know that there's a lot of stories floating around. My brother's brought up something that he's read where it talks about that there's 12 rabbis that wrote the Torah. But I showed him this information over the weekend, and I think now he's at a complete understanding that it is divine, that this whole entire book was written by someone or something with unimaginable abilities, because when you see the mathematical structure of how some of these phrases are put together, again, I just don't think a normal human being could have done this. So yeah, I mean, it's really off the charts when you really stop and look at this stuff. So let's just go ahead and just dive right in. Let's go ahead and open up PowerPoint presentation here. Now, I am recording this on a Windows computer now. I usually record on a Mac, but I figured I would get a computer because, okay, let me just start over. So the Bible code software is for PC only. And I have been running it on a Mac, and I did buy a cheaper laptop to run the software on, but I wanted something a little more beefier that I could just kind of do all of my research and record these episodes on a laptop. So I chose a PC just because that's what the software uses, and because it tends to bog down the system when I'm trying to run Windows on top of a Mac and then run the Bible code software on top of it. So yeah. So anyway, went out, purchased a Windows laptop just for this purpose. Okay. Now, with that out of the way, let's look at this very first slide that we have here. And once again, we're looking at Genesis. I mean, all of this keeps going back to Genesis. Wow. I mean, one of these days I will finally get out of Genesis and move on into the next book. But yeah, it's just crazy. So let's just go ahead and get started here. So again, yeah, we're looking at Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. We've looked at this numerous times before. Just keep finding tons and tons of stuff. So this phrase is, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the third word, which I have underlined here, is Elohim. Okay? It's God. It starts with the letter Aleph. Okay? And again, this is just what I'm going to show you here is just kind of a simple little mathematical anomaly. But it's going to get deeper as we go along. So, okay, so Elohim starts with Aleph, and Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it is the beginning. And that's exactly what this phrase is talking about, in the beginning. So I want you to look at the locations of all of the alepphs that are in this phrase. Okay, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, the first one is in the third position. That means it is the third letter from the beginning. And remember, Hebrew is read from right to left. Okay, so the first one is the third letter in this phrase. The next one falls in position 9, and then we have one that falls in position 10, 15, 23, and 26. Now, when you take all of the locations or all of the positions of Aleph and add them together, so we have 26, 23, 15, 10, 9, and 3. You total those together and it equals 86, the same value as Elohim. Okay? It's pretty interesting. Again, that one's kind of simple, but it's interesting at the same time, okay? So let's go ahead and jump to the next slide here. Okay, so in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, we have 3 phrases or verses, I guess I keep saying phrases, but verses that have the exact same value as Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, which is 2701. This is a number I've talked about numerous times before. Now, in the other books past the first 5, there are other verses that have the same value as this, as 2701. But these 3 in particular do something interesting, okay? And we'll get to it in just a moment. Okay, so the first verse is Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, which is, again, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, okay? Now, the next one is Genesis chapter 8, verse 14, and that one reads, "And in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dried." Okay? And then the last one is Leviticus 20:27. Okay, so it's chapter 20, verse 27. And this one reads, "A man or woman who is a medium or who is a wizard shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them." Okay, it's kind of interesting. So those are the 3 verses that all have the same value of 2701. Now, before we move on, let's look at the 11:11 connection here. So Genesis 1:1, okay? So chapter 1, verse 1. Right there we have an encoded 11, all right? Then let's look at Genesis 8:14. So 8 plus 14 equals 22. Now, 22 is the equivalent of 11 plus 11. So again, an encoded 11:11. Now, we can do the math on this multiple different ways. So we could look at this as 8 plus 1 is 9, and 9 plus 4 is 13. Reduce that down again. So 1 and 3 is 4. How do you get to the number 4? 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, 11:11. Okay? So people could even sit here and argue, well, sure, so 8 plus 1 is 9, 9 plus 4 is 13, and then 3 and 1 is 4. They could argue, well, you can also get to 4 by 2 plus 2. Sure. But break that down. How do you get to 2? It's 1 plus 1. And then the other 2, 1 plus 1. So it still comes back to 11:11. Okay, no matter how you look at it. Not to mention that in the verse alone, it talks about in the second month. So there's the number 2 on the 27th day. Okay, So let's look at that. 2 plus 2 plus 7 is 11. So another 11 connection. We could also look at this as 2 plus 27, which would be 29, and 2 plus 9, again, is 11. Now, Leviticus 20:27. So 2 plus 2 plus 7, again, is 11. You could look at this as 20 plus 27, which would be 47, and then 4 and 7 is 11. It still keeps coming back to 11, okay? So no matter how you do the math, you're going to get an 11 connection here. All right, let's go to the third slide here. So this is where the math just starts getting insane. It's insane. Again, we're looking at Genesis 1:1 here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And above each of the words, I have the value for the entire word. So adding those numbers, we get the value of 2701. That's the Gematria value of this phrase. And that's simply by adding the numbers together. Okay? But what happens when you multiply the numbers together? So taking 913 times 203 times 86 times 401 times 395 times 407 and times 296 equals this astronomically large number, which when you say it out, it is pronounced 304 quadrillion, 153 trillion, 525 billion, 784,175,760. Okay? Now, and here it is in red, but let's look at all of the numbers that are separated by a comma. Okay, so we have 304, that's one set. 153, that's another set. 525, 784, 175, 760. So let's take those and separate them out and add them together, and we are back to 2701. Okay? Now, let's look what happens when we start to reduce these numbers down. So 304, okay, becomes 7 because 3 plus 4 is 7. 153 becomes 9 because 1 plus 5 plus 3 is 9, okay? 525 becomes 12, 784 becomes 19, 175 becomes 13, and 760 becomes 13 again. Add those together, we get 73. Now, let's reduce it down even more. Okay, so 7 stays the same, 9 stays the same. 12 becomes 1 plus 2, which is 3. 19 becomes 1 plus 9 equals 10. And 13 becomes 1 plus 3 equals 4. And again, 13 is 1 plus 3 equals 4. Add those together, we get 37. So again, 3773. We've talked about this number before because 3773 is the basically, well, I have it broke down over here. So 37 times 73 is 2701. When you take 2701 plus its mirror opposite of 1072, again, we have 3773. And 37 plus 73 equals 110. 110 is the value of Jesus Christ in Hebrew ordinal. Okay? And this is all going to come back later. So bear with me. Okay, so let's go back up here to these numbers, and let's take all of the numbers and put them in sequential order. Now, what I mean by that is let's take all of the zeros, put them together, all of the ones, and put those together, all the twos, all the threes, fours, fives, six, sevens, eights, and nines, put them together. Okay? So there are 3 zeros, there are 2 ones, 2 twos, there are 3 threes, 2 fours, 1 5, 2 sixes, 1 7, 1 8, and 3 nines. Okay, we're going to put them in order, and then again, we're going to separate them by a comma, just like we were writing a number that goes into the thousands and then into the millions and so on. Okay, so we put them in that order. Add all those numbers together, and it comes back to 2701. All right, now let's take those numbers and multiply them by 2701, okay? So again, we get this astronomically large number. Do the breakdown again, add all the numbers that are separated by the commas, and you're right back to 2701. Now, the first verse, Genesis 1:1, is the only verse that does this, okay? Where all of these numbers keep coming back to 2701. Whether you multiply them, add them, whatever. However you break them down, however order you put them in, just as I've shown you here, it keeps coming back to 2701. Now, for anyone who is doubting, and let's just open up a calculator here real quick. So, like I said, let's just look at this number down here where we put them in sequential order. So we're going to have 0, 0. So can't really enter that because zeros at the beginning don't show up. So I'm just going to go ahead and click them anyway. So 0, 0 plus 0, 1, 1 plus 2, 2, 3 plus 3, 3, 4 plus 4, 5, 6 plus 6, 7, 8. Oh, crap. The 6 didn't take. 6, 7, 8 plus 9, 9, 9. And as you can see, it's 2701. Okay, just making sure. I thought I was getting a text message. Okay, so it comes back to 2701. Again, Genesis 1:1 is the only verse that does this, okay? It's incredible. It's incredible. Let's go to the second verse. So the second verse is Genesis 8:14, okay? So again, the entire verse, all on its own, has a value of 2701. We do the exact same thing, okay? So we take all the numbers, the value of each word, add them together, we have 2701. But now when we take all of the values and multiply them, again, we get this astronomically large number. This one just happens to be 49 quintillion, 799 quadrillion, 99 trillion, 805 billion, 131,980,800. Okay, it's huge. All right, do the same thing. Take all of the numbers that are separated by the comma, add them together, and this time we get 3663. Okay, now here's what's interesting about the other verse. So when we do that, we got the 3773. It's a palindrome, okay? Now, we get 3773 by taking 2701 and adding its mirror opposite, okay? 1072. And again, 3773, palindrome, it's the same forwards and backwards. In the second verse, we don't have to add the mirror opposite. We simply get 3663, another palindrome. Now again, 2701 plus 1072, 3773. If you subtract 3663, we get 110. right back to the value of Jesus Christ in Hebrew ordinal. Okay. Now, as you can see here, I have Jesus Christ written out in Hebrew. Christ has the value of 73. Jesus has the value of 37. You have to remember that Hebrew is read from right to left. So this first word comes first. So 37 comes before 73, and we get 3773. It's interesting. It's really cool. All right, let's go on to the next verse. Leviticus 20:27. This is the one that says, a man or woman who is a medium or who is a wizard shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them. And let me take a drink of water here real quick. My mouth is getting dry. Okay, so again, we do the exact same thing. We take the entire value of each word and add them up. So we get 2701 again. Now we're going to multiply them. This produces a number that I've never even heard of in my entire life. It's so large. So when you say this number out, which it's here in red, I have it highlighted right here. Okay, when you say this number out loud, the way you would pronounce it is 1 nonillion, 402 octillion, 440 septillion, 677 sextillion, 677 quintillion, 675 quadrillion, 145 trillion, 889 billion, 42 million, 48,000. It's a mouthful. Okay. Yeah. So now let's break that number down again. We're going to add all of the numbers that are separated by the commas. Okay. And what we get is the number 3996. It suddenly just breaks the pattern, okay, of these palindrome numbers. Okay. So we had 3773, 3663. They're the same forwards and backwards. And then suddenly this one changes. 3996. Now it's interesting because in the last video, we saw a number that was 396, and I was showing or demonstrating how the name of Jesus was found in the first verse of Genesis. And the area that I was looking at, the number was 396. And I said, what do we need to do to this number to make it represent 369? And it was swap the 9 and the 6, or the letters that were 9 and 6. And then we got 369, and it produced the name of Jesus. But let's look at this number. So 3996 is larger than 3773, so it's going to go on top. So we subtract 3773 from 3996, and we get the number 223. Okay? Doesn't seem to make much sense, but when you take 223 and 110, the value of Jesus Christ, we get the number 333. Okay? That's, again, the number that started all of this for me when I was waking up at 3:33 in the morning. Okay? Now, here's something else interesting. The number 223 is the value of the phrase will come. Okay? Will come in Hebrew. So we are essentially getting this message that Jesus Christ will come. Okay? And again, we're getting the number 333. All right, let's go on. So in English Gematria, in English Standard, the name Jesus Christ has the value of 925. And let me just show you this real quick. So let's go to this Gematria calculator. And we're going to type in Jesus Christ, and I have it set to English. And I hit submit, and as you can see, hopefully, right here, it has the value of 925. Okay? Just wanted to show you. Now, here's what's interesting. So 925 is the equivalent of 37 times 25. Now, here we get the number 37. So, as you all know, hopefully, those of you that have been watching for quite some time, you all know that the 1111 matrix code sequence, the numbers are going up and down by the number 37. So when we have 37 times 25, we get 925, but 37 times 25 gives us this square. Okay, so we have 5 across and 5 down. Now, what's interesting about this is when you take all the 37s that are going straight down the middle from top to bottom, and those that are going straight across the middle, it equals 37 times 9, which is the equivalent of 333. Okay? And what we're actually seeing here is a representation, again, of Jesus Christ, which is the entire value of this entire square on the cross. Okay? But we can also get a triangle or pyramid shape right here, which seems to represent as above. And we can get the same thing here, which seems to represent so below. Okay, so we have that phrase as above, so below. And again, 37 times 9 is 333. We get the pyramid or a triangle. And if for those of you that have, again, been watching since the beginning, when I did the breakdown of the 1111 matrix code numbers and did the ELS skip, where I removed or selected, every fourth letter of all the numbers, well, not all of them, but a large portion of the 1111 matrix code final result numbers, when I did that ELS skip of 4, it produced this whole new code in which we saw a triangle form, we saw crosses form. Yeah. Think back to that. Okay, let's keep moving here. Got a number of slides here, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I just want to show you this amazing math. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so in Hebrew, the word wisdom has a value of 37 in Hebrew ordinal, okay? But that same word has the value of 73 in Hebrew standard gematria. So that word alone gives us 3773, okay? And we could look at this as, the first verse, Genesis 27:01 plus 1072, 3773. We could also look at those numbers as Jesus Christ, because Jesus in Hebrew ordinal has a value of 37. And interestingly, Christ, just Christ by itself, has the value of 73, also in Hebrew ordinal. So it appears that Jesus Christ is also a representation of the number 3773, okay? When you look at those separately, but when you put them together, you add them together, and that's where we get the 110. Now, let's look. This is this is where things are going to start getting really, really crazy and in-depth here. So what I've done is I've taken all of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and I put them in order of value, okay? Now, what most people don't know is that, well, let me start over. So there are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, but most people don't know that there are 5 additional letters. These letters are when a certain letter appears at the end of a word, the shape of the letter changes, okay? Those are the letters that I have here in red. Now, when these additional 5 show up, they have additional values. So starting here at the top, I have Aleph, which is the value of 1. Yud is the value of 10. And I actually forget what this letter's called, but it has the value of 100. Let me zoom in here. Make this a little larger. Okay. So Aleph has the value of 1, Yud the value of 10, and this last letter here, a value of 100. So on this line, we have Bet, which is the value of 2, and then this one is the value of 20, and then this last one, which is Resh, has the value of 200, and so on. Okay, so I'm going in sequential order of the values. I put like all of the 1s, all of the 2s, all of the 3s in order. Okay, so we know that this last one right up here at the top has 100, value of 100. So 100 plus Yud, which is 10, gives us 110. And then with Aleph, it gives us 111. Okay, so that's what you're looking at here. We have 111, 222, 333, 444, 555, 666, 777, 888, and 999. Okay, and of course, this one here has value of 500. This one's 600, 700, 800, and 900. All right. Now, what's interesting about these is, again, we're getting this 37. So 111 is the equivalent of 37 times 3 times 1. 222 is the equivalent of 37 times 3 times 2. And you can again see this pattern. It's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way down. But let's look at something here. So when we start looking at prime numbers, the 111th prime number is the number 607. The 222nd prime number is 1,399. The 333rd prime number is 2,239. The 444th prime number is 3,119. The 555th prime number is 4,019. The 666th prime number is 4,973. The 777th prime number is 5,903. The 888th prime number is 6,907. It's a lot of numbers. And then the final one, 999th prime number is 7,907. So when you add all of these prime numbers together, the number we get is 37073. Now look at this, folks. It's an encoded 3773. The only difference is there's now a 0 in the middle. Okay? What are the chances? What are the chances? Okay? It's extraordinary. But now let's break these numbers down even more. Reduce them down to their root number. So 607 reduces to 4. 1399 reduces to 4. 2239 reduces to 7. 3119 reduces to 5. 4019 reduces to 5. 4973 reduces to 5. 5903 reduces to 8. 6907 reduces to 4. And 7907 reduces to 5 for a grand total of 47. And 4 plus 7 is 11. Okay, so another 11 connection. It's incredible. Whoops. Where did I go? Okay. Jump to the next screen, which I'm ready for, but I didn't mean to jump there so quick. Okay. So yeah, so we're looking at the position of prime numbers. So let's go to Genesis 1:1 again, and let's look at this. So the first word in Genesis 1, verse 1, is Bereshit, okay? The value is 913. The next word has the value of 203. Elohim has the value of 86, and so on. So let's look at the position of these in primes. So the 913th prime number is 7,127. The 203rd prime, okay, getting 203 from right here. The 203rd prime is 1,237. The 86th prime is 443. The 401st prime is 2,749. The 395th prime is 2,711. The 407th prime is 2,797. And the 296th prime is 1,949. Okay, so all of these numbers are taken right from the value of Genesis 1:1. So we add all of these together and we get the number 19,013. Doesn't seem to make any sense. We've never heard of this number before, except that this number, 19,013, is the 2,161st prime number. Okay? And when you take 2,161 plus its mirror opposite of 1,612, we have 3,773. I mean, you cannot make this up. The math, pull out your calculator, do the math. It's right here. Now, something interesting is the name Yahweh in Hebrew has a value of the number 26 in both standard and ordinal. Okay? Doesn't matter. It's 26 either way. Now, 26 times 62, look at these numbers here, folks. It's 1,612 at its mirror opposite of 2,161, and we have 3,773. I mean, we're talking about prime numbers here. It's crazy how all of this keeps coming back, all these connections. Okay, let's keep going. So now we're going to look at Yahweh and its relation to pi. Okay? This actually kind of gives me chills every time I look at this. And let me take another drink. I'm saying all these numbers and it makes my mouth dry. Okay. So the 111, the first time that this appears in the number pi begins at the 153rd digit after the decimal point. Okay, so we know that pi is like 3.14, and then it's just a never-ending number. Okay, so the number 111 appears at the 153rd digit. 222 appears at the 1,735th digit. 333 appears at the 1,698th digit. 444 appears at the 2,707th digit. 555 appears at the 177th digit. 666 appears at the 2,440th 2,440th digit. 777 appears at the 1,589th digit. 888 appears at the 4,751st digit. And 999 first appears in pi at the 762nd digit. Okay? So take all of these numbers here, add them up, and what do we get? We get 16,012. Now think about this. Remember the previous slide where 19,013 is the 2,161st prime, and we added that to its mirror opposite? I have it here again, but look at the difference. 16,012. Here's 16 and 12. Again, the only difference is there's now a 0 in the middle. So 16,012 plus its mirror opposite of 21,061 gives us, again, 37,073. And here's the breakdown again. Yahweh has the value of 26. 26 times 62 is 1,612, plus its mirror opposite of 2,161 is 3773. Okay, here's the breakdown. And then these new numbers, which are nearly identical, except there's now a 0 in the middle, gives us this new number, which is exactly the same as this one, except it has a 0 in the center. Now, look at this. When you take 37073 minus 3773, we get the number 33,300. Again, add the numbers separated by the comma, which would be 33 plus 300. We're back to 333. Now, before I go on, I just want to say this. I've had people come on my channel multiple times saying that I'm cherry picking numbers. I'm working the numbers to get to the result that I want. No, I'm clearly fucking not doing that. You can clearly see exactly what I'm doing, how I got to the number. It's simple math. Okay? It's not cherry picking a number. It's not saying I want this number over here and then this number over here and then this number over here. I'm not choosing the ones that produce this result. It's designed. It's clearly designed, and it is divinely designed. But it just amazes me that people will make this dumbass statement, oh, you're just cherry picking numbers. You're just reworking them to produce the result that you want. No, I'm not. Clearly, I'm not. Do the math yourself, and you'll get the same result. Okay. So let's go to this next slide. So, the Torah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the first 5 books of the Bible. It's called the Torah. Torah, the word Torah, in Hebrew standard Gematria has the value of 611. Okay? Now, what you're seeing here is the number pi up to a certain point. It starts with a 3, goes 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 9, 2, 6, 5, 3, and so on into infinity. The number's never ending, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, 111, let's see, where's my slide? Here it is. So 111, its first appearance in pi is at the 153rd digit. Okay, I'm going to show you this. And again, it's the numbers after the decimal point. So I have 111 selected here in green. Okay, so I'm just going to select all those, and I'm going to select the first one, the very first starting point, the 153rd digit. That's where 111 starts. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go to this summation calculator online just to show you. And I do not want your ad popping up. Okay. So I'm going to paste them in. Okay. All the numbers after the decimal and then up to the first one that makes up the number 111. I'm going to calculate. Okay, so as you can see, the total numbers is 153. I just said that 111 started at the 153rd digit. Okay, and it gives us the value of 702. Okay, now let's come back here. And let's select all of these numbers down to here. Okay, all the ones that are highlighted in red. Going to copy those. And the ones that are highlighted in red, these are the first 611 digits of pi after the decimal point. Okay? Now remember, Torah has the value of 611. So these are the first 611 digits after the decimal point. Let's go back to our summation calculator here and paste all of those numbers in and hit calculate. As you can see, the total numbers are 611, and look at the value. The sum is 2701. 2701. The value of the very first verse of Genesis. I mean, what are the chances, folks, that Torah is going to have the value of 611 in Gematria and the first 611 digits after the decimal point in pi is going to have the value of 2701. It's designed. It's divinely designed. Now let's look at something else interesting here. So the very first word of Genesis 1:1. There's something unique that happens when you take each letter that, let me zoom in here. So alphabetically, okay, so this word, Bereshit, it starts with bet, okay? It's B. So when you take every letter that precedes these letters in the alphabet, so here's bet, it's the first letter. So Aleph being A will precede B or bet. So when you take all of the letters that precede these letters, it gives you the value of 611. The same value as Torah. It's crazy. It's crazy, folks. Okay. I think another reason my mouth is getting so dry is I burnt my lip and tongue the other day eating pizza. I cooked it for lunch during work, and I was trying to eat really quick because I had a lot of shit to do that day. And so I, pulled it out of the oven, I sliced it, and I took a bite, and it was blazing ass hot, and I couldn't even keep it in my mouth. I literally had to spit the piece out. But I burnt my lip, blistered it really good, and my tongue. So it's like I'm having a hard time talking. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so the same word, Torah, okay, when it's reduced, it has the value of 17. Okay. So the first 17 digits of pi after the decimal, which are highlighted in red, check this out. So I'm going to select those, copy them, go back to our summation calculator, and delete all of that. Paste those in. Again, these are just the first 17 digits after the decimal. Going to hit calculate. And as you can see, the total is 17. That's the number of numbers that I selected, and the sum of those numbers is 82. Okay? Why is that important? Well, when you take the value of Genesis 1, verse 1, and you take all of those numbers and you reduce them down. So 296 reduces to 17. And we're talking about the first step of reduction, okay? So, for example, 2 plus 9 is 11. 11 plus 6 is 17, okay? We're not reducing it to its root. We're just reducing it down to its first level. So 407 becomes 11, 395 becomes 17, 401 becomes 5, 86 becomes 14, 203 becomes 5, and 913 becomes 13. Add all of those together and you get the number 82. Okay? Again, folks, it's not coincidence. Okay? It's not coincidence. And again, Torah, when reduced, has the value of 17. You take the first 17 digits, add them together, it equals 82, the equivalent of Genesis 1:1 when it is reduced. Now, reduce these numbers down to their root number. So 17, 1 plus 7 is 8. So we have 1 and 1 becomes 2. Now, typically in numerology, you would not reduce the number 11 because it's a master number. But in this case, for whatever reason, it is reduced. Okay, you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. So 1 and 7 again becomes 8. 5 is already reduced. 14 becomes 5. 5 is already reduced. And then 1 and 3 becomes 4. Add all those together, we have 37. Okay? 37. Now, I don't know who made up the rule that you don't reduce master numbers, okay? That's just what I've heard, okay? I don't know, like I said, who made that rule, but in this case, the math, it brings us back to 37. A number that plays heavily into the 1111 matrix code and into the Bible code, into the Torah. I mean, it's 37. I mean, it's just it's so insane. But let's look at something else here. So let's go back here. So these highlighted ones in red, these were the first 611 digits after the decimal. Okay. So as you can see, it ends at 2714. So let's go back here. So 2714. So even the first 17 digits after the decimal and the next 17 digits after those first 611, check this out. Okay, let's paste it in, calculate. Okay, as you can see, it's 17 digits. That's what I selected, and their value, again, is 82. So again, folks, what are the chances the first 17 after the decimal and the next 17 after the initial 611 would also equal 82? It's mind-blowing. Okay. So let's go on to this next one. Now, in my last video, I talked about dimensions, okay? And the very first one, the 0 dimension, I talked about it simply being nothing more than just a point. That's how it would be represented because it has no height, no width. It can't go up, it can't go down. Like any being existing in the 0 dimension would exist as a single point, and that's it. So when you look at the word point in Hebrew, it has a gematria value of 165, okay? 165. Now, we know that this 111 right here is starting at the 153rd digit. Okay, so let me just zoom in here. I want you to see something here. Okay, so this 1 right here is the 153rd digit after the decimal. So if we go 1, 2, 3, or sorry, let me start over, not with 1 and 2. So we go 153, 154, 155, 156, 157, 158, 159, 160, 161, 162, 163, 164, 165. So this 2 right here starts at 165. So look what number starts at the 165th digit in. It's 2701. You can't make this shit up, folks. You can't. So we know that 2 is the 165th digit, 7 is the 166th digit, 0 is the 167th digit, and 1 is the 168th digit. Look what happens when you add 165 plus 166 plus 167 plus 168. It's 666. Okay? Now, I know a lot of you cringe when you hear this number. It's the number of man. Okay? Now, look at this. 666 times 2701 gives us 1,798,866. Break those numbers down, again, adding the ones separated by a comma. So 1 plus 798 plus 866 is 1,665. Continue this process of adding the numbers separated by a comma. We have 1 plus 665. Again, it returns us right back to 666. Again, folks, you cannot make this up. The math is right here. It's in front of your face. Any single one of you can do this. Go research the number pi. There's a website that you can go to. I should have written it down. I didn't, but just do a search for it. You can ask it to tell you, like, what's the first 1 million numbers of pi? Or what's the first 800 numbers of pi? Doesn't matter. And you'll get the sequence. You'll see this, and you'll see where these numbers are at. It's extraordinary. Okay. Just about done here. So let's look at this. Okay, this is known as the 73rd triangle. Okay, it's made up of 2,701 dots through the entire thing. And when this is broken down, it gives us 3 separate triangles that have the value of 666. Okay, so there's 666 dots in just this triangle here. There's 666 dots in this triangle up here, and 666 dots in this triangle over here. The one in the middle, the one that's in red, has 703 dots. Okay, so 2701 is the equivalent of 666 times 3, which gives us 1998, and then we add the other 703, and we have 2701. Now, look at this. Take 1998 plus its mirror opposite of 8,991, and we get 10,989. Follow that same sequence where you add the numbers separated by the comma. So 10 plus 989 gives us 999, a flip of 666. Okay? it seems to be representing, again, the as above, so below. Okay. Let's look here really quickly. So I was just kind of setting this up because I was just kind of wondering how the numbers 11, 11, and 333, playing with those numbers the same way that I did before, what it will produce. So when you look at it set up like this, it seems to, again, give us that indication. 11 above, 11 below. As above, so below. With 333 being the horizon or the dividing line, okay? And when you do it like this, it produces a cross, okay? Just like we saw earlier. But let's look at the math. So when you take 11 times 333, we get the number 3663. Now that's interesting because that is let's go back here. That's the number that we saw up here, 3663. That's when we took all these numbers up here, multiplied them, got the new number, added those numbers, and it gave us 3663. Okay? Now, jumping back. So now we're going to take 3663 and multiply it by 11. Gives us 40,293. Follow that same process. Add the numbers separated by the comma. So 40 plus 293 brings us right back to 333. Let's do it another way. Let's take 11 plus 11. We get 22. 22 times 333 gives us 7,326. Follow the same steps. Adding the letters separated by the comma. 7 plus 326 is 333. Now let's multiply it. 11 times 11 is 121. 121 times 333 gives us 40,293. Add the number separated by the comma, 40 plus 293, and we're back to 333. It's insane. Okay. Now, this one is one of the other verses that I talked about. So we know that in the first 5 books, there are 3 verses that have the value of 2701. When you go past that into the other books, past the Torah, the first 5, there are other verses that have the same value of 2701. But I was doing the math, and they don't produce the same results. They don't produce the same results. And as you can see, so I took all these numbers, multiplied them together, got this huge ass number here, added all of them up, and got 2385. Reduced them down, added them up, got the number 13. Okay? So I'm going to go through and do them all, but so far, just with this first one, it doesn't produce the same results. Question is why? Don't know. What makes the first 5 so special? Is it because those were the ones that were dictated to Moses by God and the others weren't? Think about it. Okay? Think about it. This is clearly showing an incredibly designed book, those first 5, the Torah, designed by a being that we can't even begin to comprehend. And my sister-in-law asked me over the weekend when I was showing this stuff to my brother. He came down for Easter. We had a great dinner, but I was showing them this information, and she said, well, if you're saying that man could not have done this, who could have? And I said, well, it's either a being so divine that, like I just said, we can't even begin to comprehend them, or it was done by artificial intelligence, AI, a computer. Because again, folks, you have to think about the story that's being told, the value that's applied to the letters that where we get gematria. And then we get these phrases, and they have such a divine structure. But on the surface, they're telling a story, but it's what's underneath that story. The mathematical makeup of the entire thing is producing this incredibly odd. I don't even know what word to use. Odd doesn't seem like it should be the right one, but we're getting this. Hang on a second here. Gotta check my. Okay, sorry. Yeah, odd's not the word I'm wanting, but it's just this divine structure of how this was put together. And it's so deep. It's so complex. I mean, we're getting into prime numbers. We're getting into pi. And as I go on, I'm going to show you how this goes into the Fibonacci sequence. Yeah, it's going to get deep. It's going to get even deeper than this. And this is pretty fucking deep already. So it's just going to keep growing. And I've got a lot more to show you. So there's a lot more coming up, folks. So yeah, just wanted to share this with you. I just wanted to show you the math. And again, this is something that every single one of you can do. Just pull out a calculator and do the math. So one last thing before I go, let me pull up Keys to the Bible. And I just want to show you. If it's going to load. Here it goes. Okay. I think because I have too much running here. So, all right. So we're going to click here and we're going to find verses. I just want to show you this. I just want to show you so that you know that I'm not making any of this up. Okay. So I'm going to click Torah. Okay. So this means it's just searching through Genesis 1:1 all the way to Deuteronomy 34:12. Okay, chapter 34, verse 12. And the number that I'm searching for is 2701. Okay, so I'm going to click Find. And it clearly shows us that there were 3 verses found. Okay, and they are the ones that I just showed you. They're Genesis 1:1, Genesis 8:14, and Leviticus 20:27. Okay? Those first 3, and think about it. It's interesting that it's 3, the Trinity. But in the first 5 books, there are only 3 verses that have that value. And again, they do this mathematical anomaly, which is just mind-blowing. Now, I'm going to click on all books, okay? So this is going to go from Genesis all the way down to 2 Chronicles, okay? And I'm going to hit Find again. Okay, and it's done. Get this, folks. It found 7 of all of the books in the Bible. And let me just click this so you can see. So all the way from Genesis all the way to 2 Chronicles, there are 7 verses found that have the value of 2701. Folks, did you just hear what I said? The Torah contained 3. The whole book in itself contains 7, 3, and 7, 37. Okay? Yeah. It's only going to get deeper from here, folks. And like I said, I've got a lot more to show you. So this will certainly give you a lot to think about. A lot. All right. That's it for now. And until next time, I hope you all take great care, and we'll be talking again soon. Bye-bye.